Good morning and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD, where today it is our final deep dive into the Eberron campaign setting with the lovely co-host Seraphis. How you doing today, buddy?
I can neither confirm nor deny that I am a meat popsicle.
Although signs do point to yes. Oh my gosh. I'm actually a little bit in shock. It has been technically about 20 weeks.
Yeah.
That we've been doing this live stream. But it almost feels weird to finally be at the end.
Well, the end at covering the book. You still want me to do the adventure? But
well,
yeah.
Sure, exactly. We're gonna do the Forgotten Forge. At least next week, maybe the week after as well. Depends on how this all goes. But regardless, I mean, it's still. Like we've been going, like we keep making the jokes about, like how long everything is taking, and the fact that we're like, oh wait, this book is done. Anyways, I'm excited. I've been having fun with it.
Yeah.
So you're just annoyed at getting fired. No, just kidding. He's not fired, folks. It's just, it's planned obsolescence. I don't know how I have any friends. Let's just put it that way.
I think friends is a very strong term there.
I was to say, that is very loosely defined here.
Sorry, I wasn't actually meaning to keep a stern face that whole time. I was trying to figure out why I was getting some lag, so I was just trying to.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Like, I mean, anyways, it's, it's.
So he's already got me drinking. That's how bad it is.
Like Gakar and Londo.
Jakar and Londo. Yes.
I'm missing
Babylon
something.
5.
I watched like 8 episodes.
Okay, well that's not enough. You need to watch like the entire series. You need to watch the entire series.
I tried to go and watch it. Its production quality does not hold up.
That's a you problem.
That's a me problem.
You might not have seen Zathras.
Oh yeah, did you see Zathras?
What?
Zathras? Zathras, not Zathras.
What?
Zathras. Zathras.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Zathras. Zathras?
No.
Okay.
What am I missing?
It's Jericho.
Clearly. What am I missing here? This is very strange.
Everything. You're missing everything. That show is hilarious. Yes.
Wait, is Zathras from Babylon 5 as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I wasn't sure if you were talking about a different show or what. I was
No.
I was thoroughly confused.
No, Zathras.
Got it. Okay. Well, then I guess I mean one problem with getting together early is then it's like, okay, what do we BS about when waiting for new people to come in?
I mean, we can still rehash the same shit we were just talking about. I mean, would anyone care that we're talking about the fat electrician?
That's true. Folks, if you haven't seen The Fat Electrician, You should go look it up.
And the Fat Files.
And the Fat Files. If you want
And
your
podcast.
if you want your non-military topics, you go with the Fat Files. If you want mostly US military topics, you go with the Fat Electrician. And regardless, it's quality comedy.
But it's true, isn't it?
Right. It with a healthy smattering of history.
Waffle House. Waffle House, man.
Right. That's Fat
How is
File.
Waffle House more central to the operations in a disaster area than your goddamn government?
Did you watch the video?
I did, which is why I'm bringing that freaking question up. How?
Okay. You know what? Actually, I'm going to give you the same answer I gave to a question you posed earlier. Capitalism. It's more efficient and it does things better almost every time.
Yeah, when it's under good morals.
No, even under bad morals, it still works almost every time.
I disagree. Your healthcare system sucks.
I would say that is not capitalism. Yeah. Not that I'm trying to make this a political channel, but I am totally going to agree with Malachi here. Have you seen where the USAID money is going? And we should trust the government because of that.
Malachi, you're talking to an Australian. I know where the USAID money has been going.
Aren't you excited for it to get cut off?
Oh, I'm fucking absolutely hysterical that finally we might be able to have a democratic election in this goddamn fucking country with only Rupert Murdoch affecting the votes and not the American government.
Exactly. Rupert Murdoch, capitalism. Even with bad morals, still better than the government getting involved.
No, it's not.
I'm totally going to get my channel just canceled.
Also, what kind of human being is on the side of Rupert Murdoch?
No. Oh, well, if we're talking about Rupert Murdoch versus the government, I'm on Rupert's side every time.
I'll take option 3, suicide.
That's also a viable option. I'm just saying, I'm not taking the government's side.
That's fair.
Good morning, Mundo. All right, you know what? Let's get this nonsense started. Yeah, and demonetized. Okay, so real quick, folks. Don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends, your family, your enemies, your gaming group, whatever. We are absolutely enjoying doing these. And starting next week, possibly the week after, we will do the just a one-shot adventure set in Eberron being run by Seraphis. And then coming up, I have not entirely decided, but it might be BattleTech starting on the 12th of March. It might be something else. Anyways, stay tuned. So, with all that said, let's get into it. Or does Seraphis want me to annoy him a little bit more?
With what?
I don't know. I can find something.
Well, yes, you can, but do you really want to? I mean, we can discuss the 2024 upcoming Eberron book. It's on topic, technically speaking, so
No, and I guess I guess we can take a minute. I I do want to figure out something that we can do. Not a 2-hour deep dive like we've been doing, but I want to keep something going. So we do need to figure that out.
Do you want me to keep you on track for your Thursday thing or whatever?
I mean, I'm saying you and me, just something similar to this, but maybe a little, I don't know. Anyways, folks, I have ideas bigger than my eyes. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, as far as the D&D 2024 books, Malachi, those are really far down my list on stuff that I want to cover. I mean, like, seriously, like, I've already got the next 3 things that I want to cover. I was hoping to be able to do it all this year, but now I'm also kind of wondering if that's even possible. So, yeah, just because of how long this has taken. So, I don't know. We'll see. But whatever. Let's get into this. Let's cover our last chapter. We are actually going backwards to chapter 9, running an Eberron campaign. So let's see. All right. The world of Eberron has a slightly different flavor from traditional high fantasy, with a blend of swashbuckling, over-the-top action, and dark urban mystery. Fantasy noir, if you will. It has the potential to handle a wider range of adventures. The world has been scarred and forever changed by a terrible war. In the aftermath, a host of cabals and conspiracies are fighting to gain power and influence. Along with a mix of fear and despair related to the last war, the time offers hope and opportunity, a chance for new heroes to replace fallen champions. This chapter builds on the ideas presented in the Dungeon Master's Guide, especially chapters 3 and 5, discussing what makes an Eberron campaign unique and the elements that should be woven into every Eberron adventure. Because the information in this chapter is primarily directed at the Dungeon Master, the DM is referred to as you in the advice and guidelines that follow. All right.
Creating a party! When players create characters, they should work with you and each other to determine their history and to give the characters a reason to be together from the very beginning. How do they know each other? How are they working together? Consider the following possibilities. The Last War. The Treaty of Thronehold was signed 2 years ago, and the world is recovering from that war. What role did the characters play in the war? Were they soldiers? Did they fight together, or did they serve on different sides? Were they mercenaries, or did they fight under a particular banner? Maybe they didn't fight in the war at all. Patrons and old friends. Providing the party with an existing connection to one of the organizations described in Chapter 8 can help define the history of the group and serve to kick off an adventure. The weaker or lesser influential organizations make the best choice for starting patrons. PCs should have to develop a connection to powerful organizations such as the Chamber or the 12 over the course of the campaign. A character can also belong to a dragon-marked house, and the house can serve as patron. Otherwise, Morgrave University serves as a low-powered institution intended to give starting explorers a place to work. Common enemy. Characters can be brought together by their hatred of a common foe. Many of the organizations in Chapter 8 are far too powerful for a single character to challenge, so a party comes together to fight a common foe. A common enemy is primarily a background element. Just because everyone has a reason to hate the Aurum doesn't mean that you have to find a way to work the Aurum into every adventure. In God we trust. Another approach is for the party members to be in business together. If the adventurers have established themselves as freelance inquisitives or mercenaries...
Seraphis.
Yep.
In gold we trust, not God.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So, in gold we trust. Inquisitives or mercenaries, it's a simple matter to get an adventure started. A client shows up with the job. You may choose to provide the group with a place to run their business, although this could be a Richard Garrett on the bad side of town. Or perhaps the group meets clients and sets up jobs in a local tavern, and the innkeeper takes a share of the profits in exchange for room and board. Shared long-term goals. Does the party have a shared goal that can drive the group into the future? A common enemy is one example of such a goal, but PCs could also have sworn to uncover the mysteries of Zendrick, discover the nature of the forces that destroyed Sire, or begin admittance to the Wayfinder Foundation. By the time the party accomplishes a long-term goal, assuming it can be accomplished, it has gained enough power to accumulate other opportunities. Personal issues. Each player should take a moment to think of their character's background. A few points to consider. How did the last war affect the character? Did he lose family or loved ones? Was his community destroyed? Was he involved in the fighting? Does the character have a dragon mark? And if so, what is the relationship with the house? A character doesn't have to be on good terms with the house or elders. He may be a prodigal son who still has friends on the inside. He may be a rebel who disagrees with the policies of the house, or may have been driven out by the machinations of a jealous rival. Or perhaps he is simply adventuring to gain a better understanding of the world before settling down to manage house business. What are his religious beliefs and how committed is he to his religion? Does he have any enemies? And if so, how did he come by them? Does he have any old friends? You might allow a bonus or diplomacy. You might allow a bonus on diplomacy or gather information checks if allies are involved. What is the character's alignment, and how did he come by it? How did the character come by his class, and what does his class mean for him?
Hold up 1 second.
Yep.
These last two right here, I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting, and I don't think they get dealt with enough. Like the fact that it literally says, what is the alignment and how did he come by it?
Yeah.
You know, like I like the Palladium alignment system because it is more of like guidelines of, oh, if this is your alignment, these are the kinds of things you're going to do. But in D&D, you don't see that as often. So to actually have them say, okay, what is it and why are they that way?
Yeah.
You know, asking you to, yeah. And then same thing for the class. It's like, I'm a fighter. Okay, why? What does it mean? What kind of a fighter? Why did you become a fighter? You know, etc. So you don't normally see those questions posed for a D&D character.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
once we get to the end of this, I've got something to say as well. So,
oh, fine. I guess I'll let you talk. All right, keep going.
Does he have any personal long-term goals? Finding a long-lost relative or loved one, solving an ancient mystery, restoring honor to his family, achieving great wealth or fame. These ideas are not mutually exclusive. Heroes might pick up multiple patrons and common enemies over the course of the campaign. Nothing prevents the party from working with both the Chamber and the Library of Korenberg, for instance. Likewise, characters don't have to share the same background. The Artificer and the Warforged may have fought together during the war, but they could have joined up with the Druid and the Changeling afterward. Now, what I was going to say was, at the start, when it was asking, where was it? How did the last war affect them? Did they lose things, etc., just up at the beginning of this? That's really interesting, and it was a shame that it took until the Forge of War book to come out, because that book has in it a whole section dedicated to if you were involved in the last war, even like peripherally, how it could have affected you with things like amputations, scars, PTSD. Like it, there's so many different ways and options that are provided in the book that are not only just a role-playing element, but can also be interpreted into a like mechanical element as well.
Oh, sure. I mean, if you're having to deal with like, losing a limb or psychological effect of war, things like that, yeah, that's absolutely going to affect not just how you would play the character, but things that you would have to do with the character. Saving throws you would have to make. It's like I'm just guessing because I haven't read the book and we probably won't cover it until 2730. But like having to make a willpower save or something when combat starts to actually be able to take your first action. Maybe your character is fine once the battle starts, but because of the war, they're reluctant to get in a fight again. So, okay, you fail your will save, and okay, fine, you only get one action per turn. Something like that. So,
yeah, I mean, my character has a my 3.5 artificer has a PTSD to basically children dying, right?
mm-hmm.
Because he was attached to a unit that got sent out to go to the northern area of the Moorholds because it was being attacked by Karnath to try and reclaim the territory during the last war. And when they got there too late, and everyone had been slaughtered, and they had put the children on pikes. And so it mentally scarred him. And so I was telling our DM about this, and
he's like, I'm going to mess with you. No.
No. I told him about this, and then in a game before we got up to where we currently are, there were ghost children, and I was like, "Yeah, he can't do this." He's like, "What? How come?" I was like, "Read my background thing again." He pulled it up and was looking. I was like, "Oh, that's right." Completely forgot about it, but was like, "Oh, this could be fun." And so, like, yeah, basically, he ran away from the area because the ghost children set off his PTSD.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
No, I think there are a lot of really interesting role play opportunities that you can do off of this. And now we have to figure out a way to to keep working on this so that we don't have until 2880. Anyways, all right. Let's see here.
Styles of play.
Eberron supports two styles of play: swashbuckling pulp adventure and dark intrigue. The ideal adventure weaves these elements together, combining action and high drama with mystery and betrayal. An adventure can focus on one genre over the other for a change of pace, but the best campaigns use both of these elements as the adventure progresses. An adventure set entirely on the mean streets of Sharn may be darker in tone and more focused on intrigue and deception, but it can still include a few dramatic fight scenes when, for example, the heroes are caught between the changeling thieves and their shifter rivals. On the other hand, an expedition to Zendrick to find a fabled artifact has more of an inherently pulp feel, though intrigue can be added with a few shady NPCs or some mystery surrounding the true motives of the party's patron. An Eberron adventure has a style and flavor all its own. To take full advantage of everything this setting has to offer, keep the following guidelines and principles in mind when you create an adventure for your players. A key element of... player characters are heroes. A key element of the Eberron setting is that the player characters are remarkable individuals possessed of uncommon skills and potential. This advantage is reflected both by action points, which most NPCs do not possess, and by the versatility of the PC classes. When the campaign begins, the PC's potential may not be fully realized. A second-level wizard is not a world-shaking force, but the fact that he is pursuing the difficult field of arcane study is impressive in its own right. It provides him with opportunities and causes potential patrons to seek his help. Many villains will be the equals of the player characters, and some will be more powerful, highlighting the world's need for heroes. Eberron is not a world where powerful NPCs typically show up to save the day. By the time the player characters reach the middle levels, they are their own best allies.
Yep.
Let's see. Cliffhanger action. An Eberron adventure revolves around the edge of your seat action. Combat is fast and furious. Heroes use action points to perform amazing feats, and often need the boost that action points provide to survive. The odds must be tight and the stakes high. Whenever possible, multi-session adventures should end with a cliffhanger. Can the heroes come up with a way to overcome the seemingly impossible odds by the start of the next scene? A cliffhanger does not have to be about combat. It could involve the loss of an important object, a kidnapped ally, or a shocking revelation that sheds new light on previous events. Adventures focused on exploration have a heavier concentration of action than those based on urban mysteries. An adventure should always have some sort of action, however, and when it occurs, it should be filled with energy and drama. This is actually one thing that I will point out that I really liked in the Star Trek games with Bear. He was really good about like realizing when you were at kind of like that cliffhanger point, or not necessarily what you would call like a natural break where everything is resolved, but that break where it's like, wait, I need to come back. I need to see what's happening to those players. And I think that's especially for these types of stories, did you ever watch like the old Adam West Batman show?
Yes.
Okay.
I grew up on it.
Sure. But I mean, but the fact that it always ended or it either ended the story or it ended in that cliffhanger. What's going to happen? Why, will the heroes escape? And
same bat time, same bat channel.
Right. Exactly. And I think a lot of times, we kind of skip over that. We want to get, I want to get through a combat. I don't want to, you're like, we got through a round and a half of combat in our 6 hours of play.
That's because people need to stop arguing about the goddamn rules.
I understand. Look, I was just being funny, and you're taking it a little too serious, Seraphis.
That's because I'm playing 1.5 fucking rounds in 6 to 8 hours. Fuck me.
Right, but I mean, I'd like to finish a combat, but even then, it's like, okay, wait a second. What are we doing for healing? What are we doing for this? Because we just finished off this combat. I think that's a good way to kind of cut those scenes, get everybody excited to come back for the next session, not just oh well, it's Tuesday, so we're playing D&D. It's like, oh wait, no, Garthag just he just slaughtered the Medusa, but his arm is stone. How am I going to get out of this? What are we going to do to fix it? I don't know. I'm making crap up, so ignore the inaccuracies. All right. Excitement, danger. Pulp is a genre of extremes. The heroes are exceptional individuals, and they should face epic threats. As the heroes gain experience, the stakes become higher. But even at low levels, there should always be something on the line and a reason why the heroes are the only ones who can get the job done. Travel, while not a required element of an adventure, provides color and a chance for additional excitement and danger. Eberron is a land filled with exotic environments and different cultures. Take advantage of this feature. Chasing an agent of the Dreaming Dark from Sharn to the Mournland and into the wilds of Zendrick can make for a memorable adventure. Alignment is unpredictable. The creatures of Eberron are not bound by traditional alignment restrictions. A red dragon may be noble and heroic, while a silver dragon is a despicable villain. Mind flayers are usually evil, but it's possible to find an Elithian philosopher who is interested in helping the lesser races. Heroic gatekeeper druids and sinister cults of the dragon below both exist among the orcs. In addition, the clerics and adepts of Eberron are not bound to share the alignment of their deities. The silver flame is the embodiment of good. Yes, Seraphis, it is the embodiment of good, even though corruption still hides in the shadows of the church. The flames do cast shadows. They exist, but the flame is still good. The lycanthropes got what they deserved. Anyways, in a world where characters have access to magic such as detect evil, it's important to keep in mind that evil people are not always killers, criminals, or demon worshippers. They might be selfish and cruel, always putting their interests above those of others, but they don't necessarily deserve to be attacked by adventurers. The self-centered advocate is lawful evil, for example, and the cruel innkeeper is neutral evil. Either one might think about poisoning heroes and taking their possessions, but more often than not, they'll never act on these thoughts. An Eberron campaign should challenge any preconceived notions of alignment that the PCs may have. In a few cases, things are truly black and white, but more often than not, the world should be colored in shades of gray. Things are rarely as they seem. Intrigue, disguise, and deception are staples of the noir world. You can apply this concept to your adventures in a multitude of ways to throw an obstacle in the hero's way or feed them false information that sends them in the wrong direction. Or have them discover when all is said and done that they had been duped into working for their enemies. Surprises that come about because of deceptions or double crosses don't always have to hurt the party. Sometimes a surprise can be relatively pleasant. Every adventure should feature some surprise or twist, something to keep the characters on their toes, wondering who they can trust or what they should do next. Consider the impact of history. There are a number of ways that the history of Eberron can drive adventures in the present day. The most important of these is the last war. The war has changed the relationship between the countries and the balance of power within kingdoms. There are new nations that didn't exist when the war began, and each of these new countries needs to solidify its position within Corvair. Despite the Treaty of Thronehold, tensions are still high between the nations, both old and new. The effects of the war can also be seen across the land. The Mournland is the most obvious example, but as adventurers approach the borders between nations, they may find villages that are still recovering from the devastation of the war, encounter mercenaries or deserters who have turned to banditry, or discover smaller regions blasted by magical energy. Other connections with history involve the Daelkyr and the fallen hobgoblin empire of Dakan. The Daelkyr are trapped in the darkness of Khyber, but their horrific creations can be found across the Shadow Marches and the Eldine Reaches. The Empire of Dakan provides ancient ruins to explore and valuable artifacts to find in the secret places of Corvair. There are many other history-driven sites and situations to explore. Ancient Zendrick, the war between the Quaddles and the Rakshasas, the many conflicts between the dragons of Arganessen and the undying court of Arenel, the War of the Mark, and the attempt to exterminate the Mark of Death. When designing an adventure, you should consider if it can be tied to some historical event. Doing this gives PCs a sense of involvement with the world as a whole. It's not just a dungeon, it's an elven warhold abandoned when the elves of Arenel fought the Dakani hobgoblins 10,000 years ago. Explore the use of magic. Magic is part of everyday life in Eberron. House Orion trade roads and Lorander airships connect the major settlements. House Civis allows messages to be sent across the world if the customer has the gold. House Lorandar sells wind and rain. Prospectors and bounty hunters of House Tharash use their dragon mark abilities to locate objects that cannot be found. In the last war, artificers and mage rights devoted to a great deal of effort to developing new magic weapons such as the Warforged. Magic weaves its way into everyday life as the dragon-marked houses find new ways to harass their talents, and mage rights become increasingly more common. Beyond the magic of the present lies the magic of the past. No artificer or wizard can replicate the powerful artifacts found in Zendrick. These objects wait to be found, and with international tensions already heightened by the last war, possession of deadly magic weapons could easily shift the balance of power. When developing an adventure, you should always consider the impact that magic could have on the story, or ways in which a new magical innovation or recovered artifact could affect society. Whew, that is a lot.
Yes. To be fair, though, although you can't replicate a powerful artifact from Zendrick, there are ways you could use Eberron's cool new magic item creation sets to create for example, an eternal staff of the Magma Falls, for example, where the powers of the staff only have 2 uses a day, but you still get those powers from it, kind of thing. So,
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of options, and I think that was one cool part about going through all of those chapters, is just seeing some of the new ways to apply that. Like, I do find it interesting where they're like, no artificer or wizard can replicate the powerful artifacts found in Zendrick. Why not? Why not make that an adventure hook? Somebody's figured it out or is trying to figure out how to use one of these or create one of these artifacts.
Well, that's just the base thing anyway, because the DMG points out that you can't create artifacts.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no mechanics to create an artifact. Hence my point about, well, you can't properly fully recreate, say, the Staff of Magma Falls, but you could create an eternal Staff of Magma Falls, which gives you all those same abilities the staff has, just twice a day instead. It's a kind of lesser version, but it does kind of still give you that power.
Sure. Well, and maybe that limitation is just on players. I mean, obviously, as a GM, you can make whatever you want.
Oh, yeah, as a GM, you can go insane and make whatever the crap you want.
Yeah, but then you get those artificers who just think that they can make everything and figure it all out.
May I help you? Yes. I'm getting judged over here.
Is she wrong, though?
Hey, I make sure I pass along all new creations that I come up with to my DM.
No, my only question was if she was wrong.
She's always wrong. She's like you and Peanut Gallery. You're always wrong. She's always wrong. All right, story and pacing. What about general structure and pacing of adventures? Is there a style that clearly defines an Eberron adventure? The short answer is no. As long as you follow the advice given earlier in this chapter, no concrete structure is necessary. However, some basic guidelines follow. Heroes need a home. It's important to select a home base for the party to operate from, which is also the place they generally return to between adventures. Shan is well suited for this role. It is a large city close to Zendrick with a good mix of academic institutions, crime, and corruption, giving the heroes immediate low-level challenges and a place to buy things. It's important for the heroes to get to know the local businesses and NPCs, to develop an attachment to their surroundings, and a reputation among the locals. Once the heroes have a strong attachment to a particular city or the people within it, you can use this affection to drive a plot. Likewise, the more roots the heroes put down in a city or nation, the more important it will be to them to preserve their reputations and good names. Make use of patrons. Patrons exist to drive storylines. Characters shouldn't have to hang around taverns looking for work. Organizations or prominent individuals who need their services will approach them. At lower levels, patrons will see potential in their party. At higher levels, it's clear that the heroes are the only people who can accomplish certain tasks. Between governments, universities, churches, and mysterious groups such as the Chamber, there are lots of ways to draw heroes into the action. Search slow, fight fast. An Eberron adventure typically involves slow periods of investigation and exposition, broken up by intervals of furious action. Whenever action occurs, it should be intense and dramatic. The typical adventure sacrifices wandering monster encounters in favor of fewer, more challenging battles. This is especially true of urban adventures. Stories don't always end well. In Eberron, there are a few completely happy endings. The heroes may win the day, and they may get a big reward or a powerful magic item. More often than not, however, some issue will be left unresolved, and the end of an event will be left unresolved at the end of an adventure. Perhaps a beloved NPC died to secure a victory for the PCs. Perhaps the characters are left with doubts about the motives of their patron. Perhaps they obtained a powerful magic item and now they have to worry about how to keep it safe. Needless to say, good results should generally outweigh bad results. The players should always be able to take pride in their accomplishments and enjoy the gaming experience. The point of the Shades of Grey ending is to create hooks for future sessions. The PCs may want revenge on the patron who tricked them or the villain who killed their friend. They may need to recover the relic that was stolen at the last moment, or they may just have questions that will be answered in future adventures.
Yes.
You got nothing?
I don't really have anything.
You're going to be involved in an adventure and you got nothing you want to throw onto that?
No, I do think it's interesting that they're talking about like I mean, I guess normally like all I ever really see is stuff about adventures, whereas this is talking specifically more about campaigns. Have the players having a home base, have don't just wait for something to happen in a bar, have the patron, have somebody either that the PCs are going to look for work, or somebody who is coming to the PCs. I mean, especially if you're shooting for an ongoing adventure, I think those do get overlooked. So, it's always good to have those reminders. Anything you want to add? Now that you guilted me into adding something.
I just wish more of 3.5 encouraged greater emphasis on the investigation, the communication, the skill checks and stuff, more than long, treacherous combat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a problem with. I think that's a problem with role playing in general. Like it's hard to visualize, an investigation. It's hard to to visualize, like palace intrigue. It's very easy to visualize your fighter wading through, a horde of goblins, and just hacking everything down. And then on top of that, combat also gives you more chances to roll the dice. So you actually feel like you're doing something. And I don't think that's necessarily an Eberron or a Dungeons and Dragons problem. I think that's just a problem with the game in general. Obviously everybody plays a little different, but I think overall you can run into that problem. It takes a good DM, basically. Like one thing that I will give Bear credit for, or another thing I guess I should say, is he's very good at making sure that everybody is doing something. But again, you still have to visualize, like as a player, getting into it, visualize yourself doing something other than, fighting the Klingons or slaying the goblins or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Although you keep bringing up Bear, now I'm starting to get anxious about running the game next week.
no, I'm not trying. I'm not doing. Okay, you know why I bring up Bear, right?
Because he's the one you've been playing with.
Because that, like, especially recently, that is my role playing experience. Back when like on Sunday, Legion of Myth we're talking with Kevin Simbita about the hook, line, and sinker method of creating adventures. Hook is
some of that.
What?
I was able to watch some of that.
Yeah. Okay. So, but that's the thing is that, like, when I first found those back in high school, I didn't have anyone to teach me what that was, how you were supposed to build off of that. So it was like, okay. So that's why I bring up Bear, just because that's some of the better role-playing sessions that I've been able to be a part of. Like prior to playing in any game with Bear, it was a friend of mine who was running a game of Vampire, and like so it started out where apparently I was a recently turned vampire but hadn't fed yet. And so he kept pushing it that way, and it's like that's not something that I want to do. Which I realize it's a game of Vampire, but still, that's not really a game that a way that I want to play the game. But like even in the games that Bear was in, he didn't push a lot. He would throw out the situation and let you react. So, yeah, it was I had good experiences playing in his games. So, anyways, I just bring it up just because it's in recent memory.
Yeah, that's fair. It was mainly because I wanted to make a Jeff, the greatest DM of all time quote.
Oh.
Or reference, rather.
I don't know what that is.
So there's this channel on YouTube called Seth Skorkowski. You should absolutely watch him. Hilarious. Absolutely fun stuff.
I watch from time to time.
Okay. You should look up the greatest DM of all time video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, part of my point was, don't feel intimidated just because I'm bringing up Bear. I'm bringing up Bear because I don't really have a whole lot of other point of reference. So, at the end of the day, you're going to run the Eberron game. I'm excited because I don't have to, and I get to play.
You are a coward.
Yes, I am a coward. In this regard, yes, absolutely. So, all right, tell us about recurring villains.
Well, recurring villains are villains who keep recurring in the game. Did you know that?
Is it? Are they located on the left side? Next to the undo button.
They could be, in fact. Wow, that was a large moan. I am going to get hit once we end this stream.
I approve this message.
Recurring villains play an important role in the swashbuckling pulp tradition that drives an Eberron campaign. Eberron isn't simply about dungeon crawls and wandering monsters. Instead, the player characters are heroes fighting to protect Corvair, or small parts of it at least, from the nefarious schemes of villainous masterminds. The Lords of Dusk, the Dreaming Dark, the Blood of Vol, and many other sinister conspiracies lurk in the shadows, and recurring villains help the players put a face to those organizations. And yeah, see the DMG for tips on that. This section includes 2 descriptions of opponents that the party may face. Demise is a necromancer in the service of the Order of the Emerald Claw, an example of what the adventurers may face when dealing with this nefarious organization. Hallas Martain is more of a rival than a true villain, a member of the Wayfinder Foundation attempting to steal the party's hard-earned discoveries. 2 sets of statistics are provided for Hallas and Demise, giving an example of how they would look at different levels.
Okay. We probably should have talked about how... Here, let me zoom out.
So basically, there's a 4th level version and an 8th level version for Demise. And there's a 5th level version and 9th level version for Hallas.
Yeah, so folks, go ahead and read this on your own time. Basically, Demise threw more of her levels into necromancy. And just kept basic Artificer 1. I mean, if you're going to go Necromancer, why not mix the 2? Undead Constructs.
Potion Brewer. And Crafting Reserve.
It's fair.
Yeah. So basically, she can brew a bunch of potions and keep using her Craft Reserve to do it with. So,
okay.
Yeah. That would be my potential guess, just having a quick glimpse through. She looks like she carries potions and poisons and things like that, so that might be a potential.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've...
Although they do have a small section in describing them, if we wanted to read those, or
sure.
Yeah. Demise is a rising star in the ranks of the Order of the Emerald Claw. Born in Arnell, she was fascinated with the legends of the House of Vol and soon fell in with the disturbing sect known as the Stillborn. She possessed a natural gift of necromancy and was soon recruited into the ranks of the Order of the Emerald Claw. She is fanatically devoted to the Order and dreams of someday becoming a lich and serving at the side of the ancient Vol herself. For the moment, she oversees small operations, leading groups of lesser minions, skeletons, zombies, or low-level warriors, rogues, or clerics of the Blood of Vol, as they work to steal valuable items or perform dark rituals. Demise wears a black robe and a darkweave cloak that covers her like a strip of pure shadow. Her face is hidden beneath a beautiful death mask, where her flesh is revealed, her hands, forearms, and neck. It is grey and rotting. In this respect, she appears to be a zombie or a lich, but in fact her skin condition is artificially induced, and she is perfectly healthy and alive. Those who spot her decaying flesh, which is far more obvious should she remove her mask, may be baffled by her ability to resist turning, disrupt undead, and similar effects. When dealing with others, Demise has a chillingly nihilistic attitude. She constantly challenges all the heroes' achievements, encouraging them to give up their struggle and surrender to the inevitability of death. Tactics: Demise prefers to stay out of range of melee combat. She uses Scare to disrupt her enemies, and if she lacks minions, she draws a creature from her robe of bones using Command Undead to control it.
Interesting. I was just looking to see if they gave any difference on the 8th level version, but nope, same character.
No. It's still the same. Just like the powered scale is what changes there.
Well, but I was curious if they were gonna like add more as far as like, oh, at 8th level she's now doing this, or acts in this way, or has gained XYZ thing.
I think you would find that probably in the Emerald Claw adventure.
Got it.
Potentially what Demise has been up to.
Okay. Well, then let's take a look at Hallas. Hallas Martain
is a member of the Wayfinder Foundation. While he is quite intelligent and erudite, He is an unscrupulous individual who has no compunctions about using treachery and deception to steal the accomplishments of others. Despite his faults, he knows more about Zendrick than many sages, and he has contacts among groups of drow and giants. Recently, he has been approached by agents of the Order of the Emerald Claw. There are artifacts that Vol herself wishes to recover from Zendrick, and Hallis may be the man for the job. Hallis comes from Onder, but little is known about his past. He has a dark secret. He is the child of forbidden love between members of House Leander and House Fialan, and possesses an aberrant mark, passed without trace. He was banished from House Leander and ordered never to return. This has fueled his anger and desire for personal fame. Hallis can be charming when he wants to, but when dealing with other explorers, he tends to be condescending and demeaning. He constantly boasts of his own achievements and belittles those of his competitors, taking particular joy in mentioning finds that he has stolen from other explorers. Hallis sells his services to others, and as a result, he can be found working for the Order of the Emerald Claw, the Aurum, the Dreaming Dark, and some other groups. Tactics. Hallis Martain despises combat. He dislikes armor and wears a sword more as a point of style than anything else. He prefers to let others do his fighting for him and uses his exceptional skill with diplomacy to gain the assistance of local toughs. So, yeah.
So he can fight, but he's more going to be that villain that just works behind the scenes.
He hires the henchmen, basically, yeah.
Right.
He's a face.
Exactly. So, no, it's definitely very different types of characters. I will admit when they're like, oh, he's more of a he's more
rival?
Of a rival as opposed to a villain, and then reading his description is like, no, this guy's kind of a douche.
Well, they're not going to say he's a douchebag in the actual text. They're going to say he's a rival. It sounds more swashbuckly. But, yeah, he's the douchebag.
Right. So that I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So let's see. All right. Plot themes. Eberron can support a host of different styles of adventure plots, but a few basic plot themes are particularly well suited to the world. This section looks at a few of these themes. Exploration. An academic institution or other faction employs the adventurers, requesting that they explore one of the unknown territories in search of a specific artifact or to research a location. This plot theme could also apply to remote locations in civilized nations, such as a haunted mine in the Maror Holds, hobgoblin ruins in Zalargo, and so on. An exploration adventure adheres closely to the traditional dungeon crawl. It has the most combat of all the plot themes described here. It should include multiple low-level challenges in addition to dramatic major confrontations. Primary challenge, monsters and traps at the destination. Secondary challenges, the heroes may have to escort and protect weak NPC researchers. They may be opposed by agents of enemy factions. The target of the mission may be more dangerous than they thought. An artifact may be cursed or may be too powerful to be returned to the patron. Combat is frequent. Basic structure, party approached by patron who engages their services. Possibility of initial combat that establishes a competing organization. Explanation of nature and history of the target. Travel to... Okay. I'm going to interrupt this.
Yeah.
Because as a quote-unquote coward about running a game, I like this. I think this is actually really well done. And I realize I haven't finished reading everything. As far as, here's a type of story. here, description, quote unquote, here's your hook. Primary challenge. What should you be throwing at the players? Monsters, traps, like, again, just the way that it's breaking it down, where you, like, especially a new dungeon master, can take this to write their own adventures as opposed to, reading off a module, something like that. And then we get over here. So the basic structure. So approached by patron, explanation of the target, travel, reach the outpost, travel into the wilderness, get to the location, explore the dungeon, get the thing, go home, deliver the item. Like, the fact that, like, okay, sorry, I really like that this is just like a basic structure. You fill in all the details, but here's what your players, should be encountering. I think it could be used very well, even for like a zero prep style game. Just, here's a basic structure. Throw it at your players. What are they going to pick up on? Where do you go from there? This needs to be read a lot more.
So this is highly amusing because this is basically just a slightly more well-organized version of what I do and what I discovered that Green Ronin Publishing's founder, Chris Pramus, also does, where basically you write, when you do prep for a session, you're basically breaking everything down into, okay, what's the primary challenge? This. What's the secondary challenge? This. What's the level of combat going to be? This. What's the basic structure of how this is going to go? Like, okay, they're going to meet this person. That's what needs to happen to start this off. It doesn't matter where they meet this person. That can change no matter what. But they need to meet this person. This is where they need to go. This is the thing that they need to find, but they could find it anywhere at the location that they're going to, depending on how they do their things. This is what's going to happen at the end, and this is going to be the epilogue, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just those couple of bullet points.
Yeah, and it like,
we don't need a novel,
right? But I mean, this has probably already been done other places before, but I really, really like how this is just broken down. I personally don't remember seeing this anywhere. Even, again, talking about like the hook, line, and sinkers from Palladium, I don't think it's laid out as well. And especially with this, where it's not even telling you what the adventure is. Mystery, description. The party must solve a mystery. Okay. The mystery theme covers a lot of ground, solving a murder, dealing with an otherworldly event at church, and in Eberron, things are often not quite what they seem. In all likelihood, some of the facts in the case will turn out to be incorrect, or a deeper secret will be uncovered along the way. Okay, great. So mystery. Again, they're giving you, like you said, the bullet point of what the bullet point should be, but then leaving it up to you as the dungeon master to actually make it.
Yeah.
And that, like that's one thing that I always struggle with. Like at work, like when I first started getting off of just the customer service floor, they're like, oh, well, if you want to learn this thing, just decide on something to do and go do it. And it's like, we're talking about IT. There's 8 million things to do. I don't know what I should learn first. I don't know where I should start. And it always just shut me down. because it's like there's just the analysis paralysis. And this, the fact that it's broken down, mystery, blam, here's your description of what a mystery game should be. In a mystery, your primary challenge is this. Your secondary challenge is this. Giving just this basic structure to put together, and then again this basic structure down here. Here's how an adventure should flow. This is again, it's probably somewhere else. There's probably people that might have better ways to describe it, but the fact that they're putting this in the book, and especially when it's when it came out, a campaign setting that they're trying to say, hey, do things a little bit different, and then for the adventures, they're telling you, here's ways that we think you should do this for an Eberron game. This is great. Sorry, I'm not reading everything, folks. I mean, it's story adventures, but again, if you want a nice breakdown, Chapter 9 of the Eberron campaign setting. We've got scavenger hunts, we've got intrigue, we've got mystery, the evil mastermind. And that's all the adventure types they put down. But I mean, again, that's like 6 different story types. Done. Okay. Any other thoughts before we move on to NPCs?
I mean, the main thing I want to bring up that is ironic, and I just wanted to have the adventure itself separated so I could just double check. But yes, indeed, it's ironic that they basically point out how this is essentially done, right? How you as a DM can work around this kind of stuff to, make it so that the points you need to hit. You've got a convenient thing there to run the game with, right?
Right.
And then at whatever freaking page number it is that the Forgotten Forge starts at the end, at the back of the book, no sign of that kind of assistance anywhere. This is one of the reasons why I haven't started on that yet, because it isn't there. So I have to have a period where I've got 2 to 3 hours where I'm not going to be distracted, and I can go through that whole adventure to turn it into a half-page paragraph of notes that are the things that I need to make sure are going to be part of the adventure.
Sure, and I mean, I think that's normal with prep for a pre-published adventure. But again, that's also something to keep in mind, is that's a pre-published adventure,
which means they already have that version of it. Yes.
Well, right. So those things should all be built into it. But again, it's reading through it, picking those details out, just so that you understand how to put that adventure together when you actually get to the table.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Anyways, regardless.
My point is that it's more annoying that it's like this when, I can look at as I said before, the Green Ronin Publishing Fantasy Age or Dragon Age adventure material, and Chris Pramus at the beginning of it or at the end of the module has that up. So there's just one page that's here's the entire adventure as the summary points that you the DM, needs to know.
Well, in Eberron's defense, I think Green Ronin came out after Eberron did.
2004. Actually, I'm going to double check that.
I'm just saying there could be many excuses why why that isn't done. But if he is taking the summary, putting it into bullet points, and then also providing the written out adventure, I mean, that's fine. I think that's a great way to do it.
Started Green Ronin Publishing was founded in 2000.
Oh, okay. I mean,
So
again,
no, they had been doing it for longer.
that's fine. I don't. Anyways, all right. Let's talk about NPCs.
Yeah, NPC. All right, blah 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 blah. Because we just skipped all over that. All right, NPC classes. Player characters are remarkable individuals. Most inhabitants of Eberron can't advance as quickly or as far as player characters. They simply lack the potential to become true heroes. This is especially true in the arts of magic. Wizardry requires an innate talent and a level of discipline and willpower that few people possess. If the average commoner spent 30 years working with a spellbook, he might not even make it to first level as a wizard. However, magic is still a part of the world. In addition to the standard NPC classes of warrior, aristocrat, commoner, and expert, Eberron makes use of 2 additional NPC classes: a modified version of the adept and a new class known as the Magerite. Experts and adepts. Clerics are rarely found in the temples of Corvair. A cleric is a champion of the church. His martial prowess and ability to channel positive or negative energy is wasted on daily ceremonies or sermons. Clerics are gifted individuals with a special connection to higher powers. Serving a deity does not automatically allow a character to become a cleric. Experts, most of the attendants of a church are experts. They are they have class skills required to perform services and assist the community. Typically, diplomacy, heal, knowledge, religion, perform oratory, sense motive, and profession scribe. Plus 2 other skills tied to the religion or region. These expert acolytes do not possess any magical powers, and the statistics and abilities of the class are just as presented on page 109 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. Adepts. An adept in Eberron is a compromise between an expert and a cleric. The character has a strong enough connection to the faith to gain spells, but is not trained in combat and cannot channel positive or negative energy. A religious adept is identical to the adept NPC class presented in the DMG, with one important exception. The adept can select a single cleric domain. An adept does not gain bonus domain spells as a cleric does, but she adds these spells of her domain to her regular adept spell list and can prepare these domain spells in place of her usual spells. While most adepts follow one of the major religions of Corvair, from the Silver Flame to the Cults of the Dragon below, even adepts do not worship a specific deity, get to select a domain. A wise woman of the Talenta Plains halflings might possess the community domain, while a disturbed adept dabbling in the forbidden knowledge of the Dalkir could develop the madness domain. If a cleric takes a level in the adept class, he does not get to select a new domain, but can add these spells from one of his current domains to his adept spell list. Likewise, an adept who takes cleric levels must use her adept domain as one of her 2 cleric domains. Blah, that's a lot of shit. And the main right.
Well, and I mean, they're. I don't know. I guess. I mean, it's interesting to have these NPC classes, but I don't know. I guess
essentially, experts and adepts are basically the 2-sided variants of how you commonly would divide up how you play a cleric. Like, the expert is more of a
preacher.
A preacher, whereas the adept is more of the cleric who can perform minor spells.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Still interesting that they would split them up, but you know.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I just give it give it a level of cleric or something. I don't. Anyways, that's just me.
well, no, because the way it works in 3.5, NPC classes were created specifically for this, so that you could have multiple rivals to one rival of a PC character at that same level. So,
Okay.
like, what's a good example? Like, have you seen the fourth Indiana Jones movie?
There was a fourth. I thought they only did 3.
Look, I'd rather say that there's 4 than 5. Okay,
In 5th. I haven't even seen a 4th one. What do you mean 5th?
all right. Look, I'll demonetize your channel. Fine. You remember in the first movie when the Nazi was around and he always had goons and stuff with him, right?
Right.
And then there was that other dude who was kind of an archaeologist as well, and he was kind of with the Nazis, but also he was a rival to
Right.
Indy, right? This is kind of showcasing how you can have essentially, using this example, how the cleric in a group might have 2 rivals come at him who are both clerics of a rival sect of religion. Did I still not pronounce it properly?
No, you did great, but it doesn't make it any less funny. No. Your problem is only when it's plural.
Yeah.
Sect is fine because it just ends with a T. You know. Anyway.
Regardless, when you've got those 2 versions there, you've got essentially a competition where you've got one who can be kind of demoralizing with their words, and then another one who's casting divine spells at the enemy, at the player character.
No, you actually bring up a good point. It does allow a split for something that you're already familiar with, without having to just run. It does make sense.
And plus, these are template classes as well, hence why they're NPC classes. So, you can just as easily, the adept can be made into a rival spellcaster, arcane spellcaster, so a rival wizard, just as easily for a wizard character. Expert can be made into a just as decent bard, even a fighter or a rogue. Technically, you could use the expert to as the template for that kind of character like that, right?
Right.
The whole point is that the NPC classes are quite diverse in how you can use them.
Okay.
Again, they're templates.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do the mage right.
Right.
Magic suffuses Eberron and permeates every level of society. A truly talented blacksmith weaves spells over his forge to help her shape the steel, and a fine tapestry has a glamour on every thread to enhance its appearance. The villages and cities of Corvair are full of commoners, experts, and warriors, of course, just like cities elsewhere. The true experts in their craft, however, and the most successful at what they do, are the Magerites, minor spellcasters who weave arcane magic into the practice of their trade. Magerites are most frequently found in cities and large towns, where they are about as common as adepts. The vast majority of Magerites are members of the guilds run by the dragon-marked houses, particularly House Cannith's Tinker's Guild and Fabricator's Guild. Unlike adepts, Magerites are unknown among more savage species. A Magerite's limited spell selection makes this class generally unsuitable for a player character. So it's an adept, but for the arcane.
Actually, it's an adept for making things. Like they get the ability to essentially like do things like
Right.
make
Right.
wands and like minor magic items like that. So their whole point is that rather than being a spellcaster specifically, they are a crafting NPC class.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Hmm.
Then obviously we've got spell list, starting gear, and that's it. We reached Seraphis.
Yep.
We did it.
Yep. In an hour and almost an hour and a half, we got one chapter by skipping over a lot.
I mean, we skipped over. Okay, let's be honest. We skipped over stuff that was going to get really dry and boring.
I mean, sort of. We could have gone through individually, like taking turns in like going through the what was that, plot themes and stuff. But I get you.
I mean, I get your point, but anyways, no. I'm just saying we finished the book.
Yes. Would you like to talk about Eternal Wands?
Eternal wands.
Yeah, down in magic items.
Sure. Let's talk about Eternal
Page
wands.
265.
Page 265. Oh, there it is.
Yep. Eternal Wand. During the final years of the last war, the artificers and wizards of House Carnath perfected a new form of wand built around an Eberron shard. An Eternal Wand holds an arcane spell of 3rd level or lower with a maximum caster level of 6. Unlike a traditional wand that holds 50 charges, an Eternal Wand allows any character who can cast arcane spells to use the spell contained in it twice per day. The development of the Eternal Wand allows mage rights to take the place of war wizards during the final days of the last war, supplementing their passive spells with more aggressive magic. While the artificers of House Carnath have been searching for ways to streamline the process of creation, the technique is still in its infancy. Currently, the wands are rarely seen except in military units, but a few Majorites who served in the war brought their Eternal Wands of Magic Missile home from the front lines.
That changes the So that's one thing that always has kind of confused me. Why does a wand have a set number of charges? I like this idea.
So, in normal circumstances, a wand has a newly created wand has 50 charges.
Sure.
Because it has only so much magic that's imbued into it that once you use it all up, it's depleted, right? With this, they're combining the essentially the arcane resonance that Eberron dragon shards have with being able to hold magic, that you essentially go through a very similar process, but you're now containing it within something that essentially keeps rejuvenating the magic.
Sure, no, and that's like you can give it whatever mechanical justification you want. I'm just talking like when you read stories of fantasy, you know, the wizard and his wand or his staff, whatever, those are constant tools of power that he has access to.
Yeah.
Not something with a battery that has to be recharged. You know, along those lines. And so I think this is a much better alternative, you know, limiting based on the number of charges per day as opposed to the number of charges total.
Now, a little bit of fun lore to add in here as well is that, so it mentioned about the Magerites bringing home their Eternal Wands of Magic Missile, right?
Right.
So this became known as dueling wands because you knew how many, if two Magerites or if, people got into a duel together, you knew that there was only going to be 2 rounds of them slinging spells at each other from their wands because they're using Eternal Wands. So it was an even playing field.
Interesting.
Yeah. Can I add anything else to that? I mean, there's another book that talks about how there's eternal rods and eternal staffs as well.
Sure.
If we go by how it says eternal wands operate, we can assume that the max level of those as well is 1 level lower than what a item like that would normally be. But at the same time, you also get to use it twice a day forever because the magic just keeps regenerating. So it's a pretty fair payoff. Like, do you need a staff with a 9th level spell, or would a staff with a 7th level spell, a 5th level spell, a 3rd level spell, and a recurring 1st level spell that you can use twice a day, would that also serve the same purpose? Especially when you can make it caster level 20.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I don't know. I'm just stuck on the fact that you can use this thing without it getting exhausted.
Yeah.
Because you talk about the staff with these 8 other spells on it. Okay, well, yeah, those all have X number of charges, and once they're gone, but it still has, quote unquote, magic missile that can be cast twice per day.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. With the Eternal Staff, all those spells on it can be used twice a day.
Sure. No, I look, you're not gonna get me arguing that it's a bad thing. I would much rather have an eternal wand, staff, rod, whatever, as opposed to.
We want an eternal rod. That's not up for debate.
Look, they make medication for that.
See your doctor if it persists for more than 6 days.
Yeah.
But no, what I was going to be getting at was that as of the current edition of D&D, all magic tools like wands, rods, and staffs are all like this now. They have up to 3 charges per day, and they're all like that. Which you then go into the Eberron setting where it talks about eternal wands, and it's just the same thing.
Right.
They've stolen Eberron's cool thing and made it the standard.
I mean, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I can't.
No one's surprised.
No.
See, that's why you can't put an editor in charge of your game design, because they're useless. They have no imagination. They just steal from other things.
Well, regardless, I guess, like, I actually had not thought about how to end this. I mean, obviously it's not done. We're going to do our adventure next week, maybe the week after. We'll see how quickly we go. I guess final what are your final thoughts on the Eberron campaign setting as a whole?
I mean, speaking specifically about this book, it is really good at creating a new way of playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition. It gives you new tools, new ideas. I mean, they already applied a lot of that ideology when they had the setting books for Greyhawk and Dragonlance. You already kind of saw that stuff with like how magic works and how clerics work and things like that. But this is like, you know, oh, hey, here's action points now. You know, hey, combat should be quick. The elements of investigating or diplomacy or things like that, they should be where like the interaction should be. And you can rely on dice checks for things, but at the same time, you should, you know, allow for the idea of just rolling with a good role playing as well. You know?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Like, I think that was one thing that I was a little bit more surprised on, is that there was a lot more push that I perceived from the campaign setting book about going with role playing as opposed to, you know, combat, as opposed to the dungeon crawl, as opposed to, you know, find the next batch of goblins and just slaughter them. And I think like it's weird because like I've always just kind of defaulted, like, you know, if I was going to talk about a D&D campaign setting, you know, I'd already settled on my answer being my favorite is Eberron. But I don't think I've done as much reading, you know, certainly not in the last, you know, 15 years, of, you know, how they built the setting, you know, compared to what they came with. I think, you know, I think seeing the ways that they took those things that are the same and put a spin on them, put a twist on them to try and get you to do something different. You know, it just made it exciting. It made me actually want to play Dungeons and Dragons, whereas I had struggled with it, you know, at all my attempts prior. You know, I wasn't invested, I wasn't attached, but I think they did enough fun and different things, you know, to the campaign setting, to make me want to play in it. And I think diving through and reading all of this, you know, kind of helped me see why. Because it's not your typical fantasy, but you can still play with all those typical fantasy tropes if you want to. You know, they're not gone. They're just reorganized.
And I think that's what 3.5 ended up doing really well when it got to DMG2, the Rules Compendium, and Unearthed Arcana. Because those books, along with the original DMG, basically showcase a whole range of, hey, you can take this stuff and turn it around to be like this, or you can, like, these are all basically the tools we use to create different ways of doing things. Here they are now for you. Now you can create a setting for your home game that is completely different and designed in a way that still balances with the mechanics, but has, you know, It is as different as Forgotten Realms is to Eberron, basically.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's, I mean, I'm going to keep gushing over this, but I don't disagree on any of that. What's something that you think that you learned that you didn't quite know before we did this? And it's been 5 months.
It was mostly remembering aspects that I had originally looked at like 3 years ago, when essentially being told, hey, it's going to be an artificer that you're going to be playing, so you get to play an Eberron artificer, and me being like, wee, I'm going to fresh up on everything. And then now we get to last year and I've forgotten apparently half of it at least. Because, playing a freaking artificer, like, all this stuff is absolutely awesome. But on top of that, playing an artificer means that you're primarily going to be supporting the other players in your group by knowing essentially all the armor properties in the game and all the weapon properties in the game, which not everything is in the magic item compendium, which means it's pointless really to have the magic item compendium, because it doesn't have anything new in it. It's just got all stuff from like all the other books and stuff,
right?
But it doesn't have all of it in there. So basically, I'm usually at the table. People have like copies of the player's handbook, maybe a book that applies to them or whatever. And here I am with a stack of every complete book, the Eberron books, the key ones at least, like, the campaign setting, the Magic of Eberron, for the Forge of War. Like, I've got a stack like this big next to me, because at any one time I could be like, oh crap, we need like this going into this fight. Give me an hour so I can skim through to see whether there's something that will help us.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, the thing that I wasn't quite ready for was, so okay, and this is gonna sound kind of dumb, but
Yep.
It's how my head works.
Yep.
So it is a noir setting, which to me very much has a lot of black and a lot of white. Yes, there's shades of gray, but like, even if you have your sort of anti-hero character, they're still typically a good guy. But the number of things that ended up being, we'll call it morally gray, or like morally really, really, really dark gray, I actually think I was a bit surprised on. Like, I know I keep making the joke about the Church of the Silver Flame, but yeah, I was not expecting that to be as like when you're like, well, what about this? What about this? Maybe they're actually doing this. I'm like, but they're supposed to be the good guys. Why are you destroying the good guys? And I realize it's not you doing it, but it was something that I noticed where it's like, or like,
every time they spout a virtue, there's immediately they did this, and then they actually did this as well. And it's like, could you not have also mentioned that while protecting this community, they also like committed a minor genocide on the side?
Yeah, right.
Or like they spout for the true virtues, but they're not going to help you if monsters attack the village. Like, no, you're on your own. Like,
right.
Okay, sure.
Right. And I realize it was all there in the first place, but again, I haven't read the book in many, many years. I had some assumptions.
Those assumptions were wrong.
They were very wrong. No, exactly. So and the thing is, even with my complaining about it, I do actually think that it's actually made the setting richer for me. Like they're trying to shove everything in. Everything and the kitchen sink and an extra sink and an extra kitchen on top of that. But I think overall it worked, and it made it a deeper setting that even with our jokes of, oh, we'll cover that in 3827, I want to read the rest of the books. I want to dig into it further. Funnily enough, I want to read the 2024 books and compare them. See how it matches up versus what they originally established. And, did they just nuke it because they could, or did they make it better, or whatever? I'm gonna give them this a slight benefit of the doubt. I am not actually expecting it, but we can hope.
Fine. But just as I mentioned on Talking Drek on Sunday, I know you weren't there, but as I was saying to Game Masters, if the new Eberron book did happen to turn up on my doorstep, my first compulsion will be to get my phone out, start recording, and then burn that motherfucker. Because I wasted my money on the first 5th edition version. I'm not wasting it on another version.
Right. No,
it's going to be rehashing the same stuff. It's going to be half the book is going to be an adventure, if not more. And it's going to once again dumb down.
I don't know. That's the thing I think I'm most interested to find out, because my understanding is that for moving past 2024, they're not doing the epic campaign books anymore. I don't know where I heard that. I could be completely wrong, but my understanding is that they're supposed to be going to like smaller module-sized adventures as opposed to, what we've been getting up until now. I don't know. If they give it
when I see it.
Right, exactly. If they give us a campaign book that is just chock full of NPCs and locations and items and classes and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If they give us a book like that, I will be pleasantly surprised. If they give me 75% adventure and the rest of the book is, and then the book is worthless once I've run the adventure, no. Anyways, we'll see.
Yes.
All right. Well, before we make Seraphis any more upset, everybody, if you could be so kind, please do hit that like button. We will be back next week to run for Seraphis to run the Forgotten Forge with a motley crew of adventurers. Anything else by the way, folks, if you're new here and you haven't met Seraphis, there's a link to his channel in the description. Go subscribe to his channel. Let's get him to triple digits.
Probably should have given everyone the finger right before you said let's get him to triple digits.
Might have not been the best maneuver.
To be fair, if they haven't picked up the Australian by now, and they should just be expecting that kind of stuff, they're really not paying attention.
It's okay, folks. I try to forget it as well.
Being imaginary and all.
Exactly. We hadn't made that joke yet. I was trying to find a way to work it in. Anyways. But do hit the like button. Do hit the subscribe if you're new here. Come back next week while we run through a just short one-shot Eberron adventure so you can get a little bit more of a taste for the campaign setting. But then also, keep your eyes peeled because even though Seraphis is
Being
not
fired.
he's not being fired. He's being reassigned. We just don't know what to yet.
The farm upstate.
Yes, the farm upstate. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will we will talk to you next time.